How's it going, everybody? 3 o'clock on a Wednesday. Scatty day over here. Bit mental. We've had hailstones. It's bloody freezing, and then it's sunny. So I hope everybody's well out there. And I haven't got a hell of a lot done on this week. To be honest, I've only got since Saturday. I've got the last half an hour on it because I have been a little bit tired, and I have a bucket load to do for Dunleary because it's coming up to the end of the year. So I hope everybody's well, and we're going to start on the right hand side. I'm just noticing that it's a bit far back, and I'm going to pull it forward a bit. And I'm going to just work off my reference and fill it out. This is very full over this side, and it's really nice. I'm making this just as full. Now, what I've noticed, I've rectified the ear, but what I've noticed is that the width of the head is still a little bit narrow. Now, I know on my reference, he has hair, obviously, and that bulks out the head a little bit, but I do think it's a little bit narrow. So I am contemplating taking the ears off again and adding on a bit, so it just builds out the side of the head just that little bit. I think he needs it. I think he's getting a little bit narrow on the head, but I'm going to flesh this out, and you can see this is coming out. It's getting that he's not like, he is skinny, but he's not skeletal, and the skin is hanging off his face. And depending on what reference you see, his face is quite square. So that's what I'm trying. His jaw he's got this fabulous jaw. So I'm just going to build this out, get that square, and once that happens, I think I will want to make up here, just build it out a little bit, but I'm not going to do that yet. I'm going to work with this side here, getting it right to the reference. I hope everybody's well out there. And I hope if you're like me, you're being optimistic and hoping this weekend things will be lifted just that little bit. But if they don't, well, I'll still be here. I was going to talk. I'll talk in a wee while when people come on. I can't remember if I mentioned this last Saturday, but people were talking about the sculpt the skull and wanting to mold it. I have a rough calculation of how much silicone you would need to mold it. So we can talk about that in a wee while. How is everybody? The thing with this fella as well, like with most faces, there's an element of symmetry. Like there's things that are generally right or generally symmetrical about a face. This fella, there's very little symmetrical about his face. His bone structure absolutely is symmetrical, but apart from that, nothing else. So I'm constantly looking at the reference, constantly looking at the sculpt. But in my head, I'm going, that's not right, that's off. And the reason why I keep thinking it's off, because there's nothing really symmetrical about it. This side here is not the same as this side here. Now, what I keep seeing as well is the... I'm looking... let me see, it's the same image. No, it's not. I'm getting a different image from YouTube than I am with Instagram and Facebook, and it's throwing me off all the time because I'm looking at the mirror image. Now, when I see the mirror image, I can see it in that one there. It is throwing me off, so I'm trying for it not to throw me off, but it still is. So now, what I like is that I work with the reference, and that's what I'm looking at the minute. But because I'm doing this a lot, and because I'm getting different images, I'm getting I think that's a real image, as in not mirrored, and they are mirrored, and it's fecking up my head. So again, that brings us back to what I was saying at the very beginning. When you're doing reference, scale it up to the size that you want. Just use that reference, and if it's a left-hand side of the face that you need to work on, then make sure you're working on the left-hand side of the face. If it's an ear that you're working on, they're similar, and it's the left-hand side, and then you're working on the right-hand side, make sure you flip the reference. And that's what's happened to me. I'm trying to flip things in my head, or it's automatically flipped because I'm looking at this, and I'm going, that's not the same as what I'm seeing. So my brain is in the middle going, what is right? So that's what I'm trying to do now with looking at reference, and through it up. And inevitably what I'm doing is I'm going over stuff that I've already done, but that's okay. It'll take a while. Paddy Hine, did you buy those yolks yet? I showed Paddy, and they're absolutely fabulous. If anybody is into the Dark Crystal and to Jim Henson, they're releasing special edition miniature characters from the Dark Crystal. No, I don't know. Maybe Paddy's there. Maybe he knows the actual link. I sent it to him I think today. But they're absolutely fabulous. And what sort of prompted me to send it to Paddy was there's a Skeksis there, and he's doing the Skeksis. Now, the Sculpt the Skull, lad, that is sort of what we'll be working on. And this is sort of my version. They'll be doing a few different ways of using reference, and how we can go from reference to 3 dimensions. And I will be working with, I'm going to do a few different ways of doing it. So whatever way, your brain works on that. We get some way of you working. This is the way I work. And whether it is small size or whether it is absolutely humongous, it's the same method. But I'll do it a few different ways with the Sculpt the Skull. But I thought it'd be handy just to see it, and what I would. Some people were talking about making a mold of this fella and then popping him out in resin. So if I was going to make a silicone mold of him, what I'd be doing. Now, what I am going to do is I'm going to use, the only stuff I have is, Momo, this is for you. I don't know if we actually covered this last week. We're talking about silicone molds. The only silicone I have at the minute is, but it's not cheap, but it's the only one I have. I have Platgel 10 and I have Platgel 25, platinum-based silicones. It's an equal part A as to equal part B. But I find it very reliable. But the only thing is, it does not like sulfur. This is therefore NSP, non-sulfur-based plastiline. And I don't not use latex gloves because the black gel does not let latex. So that's what I'm going to use to make a mold of the skull when I've made it. And I would reckon, and I get it I get it in all sorts of different quantities. But what the handiest kit that my students get, it's a 2 kg kit, and it comes in 1 kg and 1 kg. And I would just literally guesstimating the size of that and the volume. I was saying 500 to 600 grams of silicone will easily do that. And that's I'd say 600. And I'd be doing a round block mold. So what I like to do, just in case you feck it up, is a 1 kg kit. It's not expensive. That'll absolutely do that, and you'll have some. You may as well get more quantity for your buck than getting this. So that's what I would suggest: is you get a 1 kg kit, and as I said, I'm going to use, because I have it, I'm going to use it Platgel 25. So when I sculpt this fella, I'm going to make a mold of him. So Momo, you can start buying stuff. Lads, I haven't. Sorry, I have. I've for Sculpt the Skull. I have a fairly big folder that's going to go out to everybody that's taken part. If there's people watching and they're saying, "What's this? Sculpt the Skull." We're going to sculpt the skull Saturday week. We're going to spend all day sculpting the skull, and there's a competition out for clay, and that the results will be on Saturday. So it's up on the website, it's up on Instagram, all that sort of stuff. So if you want to be in for a chance to get enough to sculpt this your skull, same clay as this, go in for the competition. Go up on the website, and it's all free. There's no catches or anything like that. But that's what we're talking about. And I have a folder of stuff on there. I have changed. If people have already signed up, I have given you a reference already. I've changed that reference. I've made it better. And there's a few little things that if you, when you're thinking about a skull or when you're face in general, when you're sculpting it, whether you're drawing it, I put them into it as well. I think it's useful rather than it's just going off square grids. We're going to be doing that anyway. But there are certain measurements that generally, unless you've got a skull or a face that is distorted, those principles are the same no matter what. It's a little bit different when with females and males. They do change, but the principles are the same. So I've put them down in the references as well. I've also, which because people were talking about it, I've given you reference of, now I've collected all this, lads. I've given you reference for a half skull flayed on one side and muscle and skin on the other. So you actually, hi Mayor, so you actually see a skull and you actually see the muscles and the skin on top of that skull. I've also going to give you a skull with muscle detail on it. So you will have that also. I know we're not going to do that with the skull, but I think it's useful to have that. And there's all there, and I've actually doing some research as well, and I was just wondering, like, what did the greats do? Like Leonardo da Vinci, what did Michelangelo do? And some of the references actually their reference. And if you look at it, the principles, the thirds, the halves, the fifths, or sixths, depending on which way you look at it, it's exactly the same. So that's what we're sort of be working off. It's sort of the classical way of looking at it. So that's Sculpt the Skull. So if you're not sure about it or don't know anything about it, well, look at the Instagram or look on the sign up on the website. There's no catches, lads. I think there's a few people think I'm making millions or something. I'm going to raid your bank account when you sign up. I'm not doing anything like that. So if you want to sign up for Sculpt the Skull, please do. There's 60 people now, and which is bizarre. I thought to be 10. And it is free, so sign up. There's a few people from foreign lines on it. I'm not too sure how we're going to get across the language barrier, but maybe we don't need that. You just watch me, and I will be sculpting it with you, and we're going to spend the day together Saturday week doing it. So sign up for it, and as I said, it's free. And what I will be doing is everybody that has signed up next week, I will post out everything that you need. I might even try and do it before the weekend, but I am up to my eyeball trying to finish off our college and stuff. Well, not my college, teaching. And I do suggest that the people who want to do Sculpt the Skull subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you don't know what that is, where that is, go into the website and click on the link. So that you don't miss. I'm going to put more tutorials up there, and there are other tutorials up there. So subscribe to the channel, and especially if you're going to do Sculpt the Skull, because that is where I'm going to do it. I think it's the easiest place to do it, because some people don't have Instagram or Facebook. So that is annoying me. Well, Mel. Yeah, it's amazing. I'm looking at that and I'm looking at that. And they're two, one's mirror, one's not mirror, and it really destroys your brain. Now, oh yeah, the other, yeah. So if we're going to use, say, 500, 600 grams of silicone to mold, that's what I'm going to do after I've done Sculpt the Skull. We're going to do a demo on how to make a mold of the skull. When we're in the class of Sculpt the Skull, there will be a few things that we will have to do to be able to mold it easily. I have done molds that are the whole head. This one here. There's actually this one here. I've molded the whole head, and what I also did is molded them. Yeah, I can take this one. I think I've glued this back on because it kept falling off and it broke on me. I've molded the inside of the head with the outside of the head, so it's a two-part mold, and the top part, the inside and the outside. So I had two molds for one skull, and that was I've made hundreds of skulls. That fella. But that's a complicated mold. We're not going to do that. But what I am going to do is I'm going to do a simple block mold. But to do that, we need to have a flat back. So I'm going to talk about that when we're doing Sculpt the Skull and why you would need to do it like that. But the reference that I've given is for a full skull, and you can do a full skull if you want. It's up to you. Now, there's a few people out there were asking, could we use a different material other than the Shavant? Yes, you could. And what you could do is you could use Sculpey if you had Sculpey. Now, if you had Sculpey, I don't know if anybody knows what Sculpey is. It's a polymer clay. I think it's polymer. I think it is. And what you do is you put it in the oven. When you put it in the oven, I can't remember the temperature. I think it's about 100 degrees. Essentially, you're baking it and it goes hard. So you don't have to do the molding process. I will not be doing that. I will be doing the molding process afterwards. And what I said last week is what I'm going to do after that. I'm going to make a crystal skull, so it'll be clear. So I'll be showing you all the kit that is involved with doing something like that, especially to make something clear. Making something clear, it's not just down to the material. It's down to adding the resin, and it's down to getting air bubbles out of the resin or reducing them if they are in the resin. And they're no, they're not machines, but they're sort of like machines. There's a pressure chamber and a pressure pot, a vacuum chamber and a pressure pot, and I have them downstairs. So we'll have a go at that. See if you can see. So lads, any questions so far? Or any news? Does anybody actually think that we're going to get out of our houses and down onto the beach this weekend after, was it the 4th, is it, Sunday? You love the, somebody said, oh, you're the second person to say that. That there was for my master's. That's Albert, and my piece was about embodied memory, and it's in a suitcase. There's the whole. Actually, you go up onto their website. It's up on the website. But it was all about embodied memory, about how we retain memory or how we hold memory. I know it's in the suitcase. I forget that some of the stuff is in here. There's a creature over there and there's jokes over here. My son came in here on Skype with a friend yesterday, and all you could hear from in here was, "Oh, cool." But that fella, his name is Albert, and what I did was I connect. Can you see the ear? Let me see. There's an ear there as well, like a massive one. Oh, there's the postman. What masters did I do? Well, actually, my supervisor is online, Mel. My masters that I did was in creative arts practice in GMIT in Galway. It was for a year. Now, for me, that was absolutely mental for teaching and doing the MA. But I have to say, it was out of my comfort zone. And I think I drove Mel mad, but I did enjoy it. And I had an exhibition two exhibitions, but the main exhibition at the end, and something I'd never done before. So that was really, really cool to do that. But Albert, he has a cool story behind him, and what I wanted to do was make connections with personal collections and close family connections. Like the ear is my grandmother, and she's the one that you would have went to, and she'd be the one that would tell you. You tell her all of your stories to her. She's the one that would listen to you. So therefore, I thought the ear was appropriate. Now I didn't have a photograph of my grandmother's ear, but everybody always said that my mother had my grandmother's ears. So I got my mother to take a photograph of her ear and send it to me. Now I'm yapping and sculpting at the same time here, lads. And my other grandmother, I did her too, and she never talked to you, and she was quite closed lips, and she was always concerned about what the neighbours would think or anything like that. So it's very tight and closed lipped. But Albert, he's a brilliant story. Albert, he was a photographer, and so therefore DI, but that's what I thought was good. Thanks, Mel. You might have somebody coming to your MA. She's looking for a master's, but that's the postman, lad. Sorry about that. The dog does not like the postman. Back to Albert. Albert, he is my brother-in-law's grandfather, and he was a photographer there for the eye. That's how I thought about him. That's how he got his memories through the camera, through his eye, and he was the first camera shop on Dame Street in Dublin, and he supplied cameras all around the country, and it was huge, absolutely huge business, and he was the first shop in Ireland that developed your film quickly, and but the unfortunate thing with Albert was that the machines got ahead of him, and it ended up that you instead of going to Albert, you just go into Boots and get it for next to nothing, which is great for us, but not great for that business. But that's Albert. And the reason why they're in suitcases was that I felt that the suitcases in themselves had memory, and the particular suitcases that I went all around the country getting them. And what was bizarre is that I thought in my head that there'd be a great way of retaining memories. Where do you put your memories? Where do you put how do you move from one place to another? What possessions do you put in them? And even like people would hold photographs in suitcases, things like that. And I suppose that's why I went down that route. But when I would buy the suitcase, inevitably, I went all around the place. Inevitably, the owner would keep me there for half an hour telling me about a story about the suitcase. One suitcase that I had, and I wasn't allowed to keep it, but I was allowed to use it. Um, was from one of the guys who's actually on the MA, and his family had moved to Ireland. I think initially went from Russia to Germany in that suitcase, and then from Germany to Ireland in that suitcase. So the history behind it's bizarre. There, that's a mad Italian thing. So lads, there's 60 people doing Sculpt the Skull, so that which is nuts. It's fantastic. But we'll have to set up a gallery space, an online gallery space afterwards to see everybody's fabulous work. Now this is the nice bit. I find this is the nice bit. No pressure, absolutely no pressure. There should be no pressure. But I don't think we should look at it like that. But that there's pressure or competition with Sculpt the Skull. What would be cool is that we're all going to put a bit of effort in. So no crying, Shona. Or are you laughing? Sorry, it's my eyesight's crap. I think it would be great for everybody who's taking part that you show off your work. There's a lovely muscle here. This muscle here, and everybody knows it. It's when you clench your jaw close, and it's right there. You can see it. I don't know if you can see it on me. You can, yeah, there. That's what I'm going to try and get in here. Oh, the pressure's on me, is it? With 60 people. No, grand. Try not to think about it. You have a bit of a block in your design process for your final project. What do you mean? What do you mean? What does that mean? What's the block about? Is that what it's called? A bunchinator muscle? A bushinator muscle? Is that what it's called? I didn't know that. Actually, that's another thing I've given you for Sculpt the Skull is I mentioned it last week. What was it? Anatomy. What was it? Anatomy for Sculptors. They do absolutely brilliant books. Absolutely brilliant books. Now everything they do. It's designed in. I think it's. Which I forget what program, but it's digital, and so they do. Once they've done that, they can extrapolate it out, or they can do turnarounds. But what I've given you is on Sculpt the Skull is the actual anatomy of the skull. So when I'm talking about something or one area, I might use a word. So if instead of you going, "What the hell is he talking about?" I've given you that as well, so you can look at it. You just can't start designing. Yeah, I know. But I think that's a problem. I put it the wrong bit. I think that's possibly a problem for lots of people. I'm talking to 40 years as well. It's a weird feckin' time. Can't be hard on yourself. You really can't. It is weird. Like even for me, I'm finding it not hard. Really, is it hard? Challenging to remain motivated. No, I know I'm busy and I'm doing this, and I said I'd do this, and I said I'd do sculpt a skull. So, but even so, um, trying to remain motivated, it's difficult at this time. So don't be battering yourself up because of that. Oh, I was an anatomy unit in university lately, and it's one of the most challenging. What do you mean that it was the most challenging being in the anatomy section? What does that mean? Oh, you're sculpting a skull in the anatomy section in the university. This dude, what all of this is practice, reference, and like knowledge. Like no, I saw this thing yesterday. Now, if I was going to do this, I would probably want to do it right. It was sculpted in marble, and it was the lower section. The head wasn't there. Lower section, and you had the sternum and the collarbone there, and it looked really nice. But even I could see that it was anatomically incorrect. Now there was a lot of people dissing it, a lot of people giving out, and I'm going. There's a certain way of giving people criticism, and usually Facebook and Instagram are not it, and people don't do a very good job of it. But I do think with anatomy, it's bloody practice, and even me at this stage, it's practice, practice, practice. It was extremely difficult for me, especially when I started using 2D reference. When I got right after using the 3D. Oh, but yeah, but you see, that's the same thing as what I'm saying about like me at the minute with Beckett. Obviously, my reference is 2D, and there are bits that I don't know, so I have to make that up. But going from 2D to 3D is difficult. So what I try to do to make it that step a little bit easier for myself is that I would get everything the same size. But going from 2D to 3D it's hard. You have to train your brain into doing it. It's difficult to do. So, but the thing is, but it is practice and not annihilating yourself because you can't get it wrong. Wow. Hold on a minute. In the psychology course, you did. Oh, you! Oh my God! I read that wrong. I thought it said that you did dissections on bodies. I'd say that's not what you did. You've possibly been asked this on the lives before, but what is with this sculpt and why Beckett? Um, why am I doing Beckett? Or why am I doing the sculpt to begin with? Well, I'm just like ye. I need something to keep my mind sane and tip away at. And what's great about having committed to saying I'm going to come here at 3 on a Wednesday and on a Saturday is that it forces me to actually do something, something creative. But the why Beckett? I've always wanted to do Beckett. I've wanted to do Beckett since I did. I did say this before. I'll say it again though. I think it was Paddy Hine in 2014. I think when myself and Paddy Hine sculpted Crom in Mockmas, and part of the reference for Crom was Beckett, and I just got a little bit obsessed, and I was going to do it for the masters, but it went rightly so went down a different route, completely. Well, it's same sort of route in its core, because the reason why I was fascinated by Beckett was because of his forehead, and with this stuff here, I got latched on to embodied memory, and how our memories, our lives are etched onto our faces. Told us. Hold on a sec. Shit. Sorry. Christ, I keep moving things around. Yeah. That's exactly, yeah. Shona's just saying for my reference, and you can see it's on the wall. Actually, you can't see it's on the wall. One sec. Let me see. Can we see every photograph? Every photograph of Beckett is black and white. The reason why I do black and white is because I don't need to get distracted by color, and it shows me the contours or the shadows, the lights, highlight, high, dark, shadow, it's deep. So my brain can compute it easier. So any reference, and if you notice the sculpted skull, black and white, always print your, well, that's what I do. Always print your stuff off in black and white. It's far, very easy to go from a 2D to 3D that way, because your brain sort of, it sees it like that easier. And, holy moly, what do you be saying here? In dental nursing, I didn't. Have you done everything, Catherine? Mother of God, dental surgery. Dental nursing, we had to look at the head and neck on real bodies donated to Trinity College. It wasn't great, but we learned loads. Oh yeah, I'd say that was quite weird. Now, let me bring this up. Okay, I hate fecking around with this. There we go. Henry, how's it going? I heard. I saw the photographs of your kids. They're beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Yeah, reference black and white always. It works for me, and that's what I do all the time. Whereas, actually, hold on a second. I'll pull this off the wall. Now, that there, can you see that? That there's in color. That's a blow-up section that of a squinty mouth. That's in color. And when I'm looking at that, I look at the color as opposed to the form. Or whereas when I'm looking at the black and white, I see the form. I see the shadows. Henry, how's it going? I heard we might be working with sand. Is that right? Very cryptic, lads. We have to be. So back and forth, back and forth. And what a lot of people do with, like, there's loads of wrinklage going on here. It's not even wrinkles, it's, folds on folds. But you have to be careful, and loads of people do it. And actually, nearly everybody that I have taught does it at the beginning to sculpt out and make ridges. You have to remember that these folds, they're folding on top of each other. So it has to look like they're folding on top of each other, and not just sticking out. Gravity, always think of gravity, drops. So what I like to do, and even when I've somebody sculpt that is like ridges coming out, what can work extremely well is use the tool, and it's called burnishing, and pull it down, and it'll force the wrinkle, a wrinkle or a fold to go on top of each other and go on top of the next one. So you'll see me doing this loads, and what I'm doing is I've just put in some clay, and I want it to fold down onto the next bit. Now, problem with these Feck glasses is that I can see that, but I can't see that. So I have to do this all the time. Jeez, lads, that was the floor of your questions. What to God. Yeah, I had to cut the hair, lads, because well, not today, but the last couple of days it's been absolutely roasting over here. And I've been out in the garden in a digger. Tell you, I think my jaw is sore from this. My jaw is actually sore from the digger, because I think in my head I'm lifting every bit myself, so I'm clenching my jaw when the digger lifting all the stuff. Now, as I mentioned this at the start, and I think, no, I don't think, I know, because that's the other thing. Trust in the reference. Always trust in the reference. You go, if you ever do a class with me, or you're ever around me when I'm doing sculpting, the word that will always be repeated is reference. Oh God, I need to light. 1 second. There we go. Need some light. The word you'll always hear me say is reference, reference, reference. Always reference. Yeah, I said that to the to get bifocals to my optician, but he said he didn't think it would work for me. So I'm not too sure why. I might have to go back to him, because these are, they're great. I can see here, but I can't see that, and it's a right pain. So what I know is not right, and again, reference, 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 is, I think, the width of his head from this bit to this bit. I can see it on the reference. It's a definitive sort of guide that I can. It's a measurable guide, and from here, where is it, to here, should be right here. Now it's an easy fix. I know that this is all right here because I keep measuring it. That, well, I found that out today. Now, last week, that ear wasn't in the right place. And it's sort of, at that stage, it was figuring out that. I rectified that. He went all Van Gogh only. But I do think I'm going to have to lob off both ears and just build it out a little bit, because I do think he's quite flat, and looking at his head, he's that little bit more full. When do you know it's finished? My sculpt? Well, to be honest, I haven't really been working on him a hell of a lot lately, because I'm doing stuff for college, and I haven't put as much work into it as I would want to do. But how do I know when he's finished? Well, at the minute, all you're seeing me do is getting the form right, and it's well, if you want to call that detail, you call it detail. Once I get the form right, and I'm happy with the form, and I have gone through all my measurements using rulers and calipers, and I said, yeah, it's right, because I'm the type of person that I will, later on, if it's not right, it'll always annoy me. Whereas it's this stage, I try and get it right, and I forever for a day I'll feck and see it. So that's the first thing I want to do, is get that right. Then I'd be going into the texturing, and I could probably spend as much time as I've spent sculpting this thing, texturing this thing. So how do I know when it's finished? Well, I don't, to be honest, and I don't have a deadline, so I'm not really thinking about it. Really? I'll have Mel. She's got bifocals, and they work. That's a terrible term, middle-aged. I know. I went to the I'm going, in my head, I'm still fucking 20. No, that's stupid as well. But well, I certainly can't do things that I did when I was 20. But I don't think I'm 47. But he said to me when I got my eyes tested that oh, that's about. Well, he asked me my age, and I told him, and oh yeah, that's about right. And it is, you're of that age. And I go, what does that mean? Emily, your kids are stunning. They're absolutely beautiful. That was a beautiful photograph up on Facebook. I hope these are all doing well in your house over in Wales, and hopefully we get to see ye and the kids, or the other way around, at some time when this mentalness is finished. Oh, you know what I saw? I was just literally looking online. Emily, lads, Emily's married to Henry. Henry was the director of Morton, the stop motion animation we worked on a couple of years ago, and Emily was in charge of all the puppets. And today I was going. I wouldn't mind seeing it. I've only seen it once, apart from Russia's. My eyes can improve. Do you mean that I'm not sculpted right, or my actual eyes? I doubt it. My eyes are getting worse. But the Emily, I saw. Yeah, you can get Morton on DVD, and you can get it on Amazon. You can't get it on Amazon. I don't think you can get it on Amazon.co.uk, but you can get it in America, but it's $20. So I went on to another site, and it said $5 or $6. I says, all right, I'll have that, and I plotted it all in and put in Ireland, and it came out at $80 to get them to me. So no, I didn't buy the DVD of Morton. If anybody hasn't seen it, have a look at the trailer. It's cool. Emily's here. I don't know what she's on. Henry's obviously at the house, and Emily's down at the park with the kids. She's on Facebook. She's just a comment above you, a couple of above you. Did you get the DVD? Where did you buy the DVD of Morton? And I think that's fantastic. The actual director of Morton had to buy the DVD. Cool. Done. I'll message you later. Now, lads, the thing with doing this sort of stuff, I'm not and I suppose this will tell you how long it'll take me to do this. How long will it take? It'll take me as long as it takes. Because I'm in no rush, and I'm enjoying doing it. So it'll take me as long as it takes. If I had to do it, like this 2 weeks, if I had to do it, if I wasn't a job and I had to do it, it would be done. But to do it, I'd be working, and I would just do it, and that would be it. Whereas at the minute, I'm working and haven't got a humongous amount of time to do it. So and it's keeping me sane. So it'll take as long as it takes. But I'm not putting on lobs of clay. So you're talking little bits of clay. That's gas, Henry. With the whole family on. Hi, Emily. Oh, he's with kids, is it? Oh, yeah. I'm very, very, very privileged. I don't, or I'm not, doing homeschooling. My wife is. I suppose your kids are too young to be doing homeschooling, but it's what would we say? It's challenging. Now, what's annoying the crap out of me is that I have a bit of video. Might be able to see it on him. With Beckett, he was an elusive character, and I'd say every bit of photography that was done on him, I have got at this stage through all the research. And to be honest, it's not that much. He never really liked his photograph being taken. And if you saw that post, this is like mad stuff. The post I put out about him on his birthday that he used to drive Andre the Giant around. I thought that was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Another thing I found really mad is that like he was an absurdist. So the plays that he wrote, were absurdist plays, and he no, I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. He wrote Waiting for Godot when he was in France. Either that, or he wrote Waiting for Godot in French, and his French wasn't very good. So that when it was translated, when he translated back into English, it was that little bit of even more absurd. Yeah, I thought that was brilliant. Waiting for Godot, I think that was done like that. Now, all that information is off the internet, and as we all know, internet tells us everything. Everything we get off the internet is true. I'm not actually here, lads. This is just an avatar. Now, it's a fairly good avatar, and I have a lot of work trying to get this accent. Now, who was it? Damien. Why Beckett? There's another reason why I've done Beckett. There's another. I'm sorry, I'm reading something now. There's another reason why I chose Beckett, and I'm going to put a hell of a lot. Like, there's a hell of a lot of money in him already. With Clay, I'm going to mold him. Depending if we're still in Feck in isolation, I'm going to do a mold here. I'm going to do it in Jesmonite. Don't want to do it in Jesmonite, but I will. I'd rather do it in fiberglass. The reason why I would do it in fiberglass or epoxy. The reason why I would do it in either one is I can make it thin. With the epoxy, what's great about using epoxy for something like that is that it's the shrinkage rate is very low, and so therefore no seams. I'm not really bothered about that because I can get rid of seams in silicone. That's another trick that is fucking handy to know. But by the time I mold it, top it out in silicone, I've invested a hell of a lot of money in it. And I was thinking that if I'm going to do a sculpt, and I would like to do a sculpt of a character, what character would somebody want to pick up in the museum maybe? And I thought Beckett would be a good one. I have always wanted to do it. But who would want a hyper-realistic Beckett? That's not a question to you, lads. That's the question I was asking myself. So, lads, if there's anybody on who hasn't signed up to Sculpt the Skull, have a go. It's free. I will be, and like what I would say is, it should be a bit of crack. Like, we're going to spend the day together sculpting. If it's nothing other than just spending the day together sculpting and you learn a bit, great. But there'll be like, if you want criticism, if you want a critique, I will absolutely give you that. But other than that, it should be a bit of crack. So if you haven't signed up already, sign up. And it's free. What time is it? We have 6 minutes left, lads. And if you have any questions, ask me them now, because I've been stuck in this office since 6 o'clock this morning working on IADT stuff. So when this is finished, I'm heading outside. There's other things actually, the tools, I want to get them, but I probably can't get them at the minute. What they are like, say when we're working with an eye, or when we're working with a nose, or when we're working with an ear, there are certain principles that people's ears are scopes of oh Jesus, words, that their ears, nose, eyes, the anatomy is generally the same. Generally the same. For men and women, it's slightly different. But there are sculpting tools that you can get, or sculpting aids, I would call them. One is, and they're the replicas. Some people have sculpted them. They're not the originals, but replicas of Michelangelo's ears, nose, and lips. And they're something that I want to get. So for me as well, but for students, so that when you're working on an eye, that you can see what the anatomy of the eye is. So you're not working. That's one thing people say, I don't know how to do an eye. And I said, well, how does an eye look? Have you referenced it? And 2D reference is a challenge to get into 3D. That's what your issue is. So therefore, working off a 3D reference would be far, far handier. And there's a place in Russia, in where is it? I think it's St. Petersburg, and they do absolutely beautiful reference tools. So I'm hopefully I was actually going to buy them, but this lockdown happened, and I thought it might not get here. Is the day of sculpting the 10th of May? No, the day of sculpting. Hold on a sec now. Hold on a sec. I want to just clarify that, because you've asked me a question. I want to answer it truthfully, and I think I'm right in answering it. Yes. No, the sculpting day is not the 10th. The sculpting day is the 9th of May. It is a Saturday, and we're going to sculpt pretty much all day. I have a package ready for everybody that has signed up. I know that I've given you a PDF already. So generally you can use that. You can really use it now. But I've improved on it, and I'm going to give you more reference. And I will give you times, and I'll give you the, I'll send you the link. But what I do suggest, though, an idea in the start time. The start time I was thinking of 10 o'clock. So have to give people a little bit of a lie-in, and I'm happy to keep on going. I do suggest we have lunch. People could chill out or chat online if they want. But we are going to have a lunch. We are going to start at 10, and I will keep on going. Probably I'd say till 6. But if that's roughly what I am thinking. I think that should suit everybody. If there's 60 people, it might not suit everybody. That's the day before your birthday. Absolutely fantastic. So we'll have to wish you happy birthday while we're all online. So lads, I'm going to finish up a little bit. There's a minute left on Instagram. I'm going out into my garden, and I suggest everybody else either opens a window or at least gets out of the house in some way or form and get some fresh air into you. Well, over here it was torrential this morning, but it's nice now. Lads, it's a pleasure to be here with you. It's great for me, and just to spend a bit of time sculpting and jibber jabber about stuff that people have asked and stuff like that. So I am very, very grateful that people come and even watch me whack this. What did you call it? What did she call it? Catherine, what did you call it? Chocolate onto Beckett's face. And if you haven't sculpted, share it, lads. Let's try it. There's 60 people doing it now. So share it, make a post, invite friends, whatever. And if you go in for the competition, try and win some clay. The winners will be announced on Saturday. So send that out as much as you can. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just look at my website, paulmcdonalddesign.com. So lads, I will. I have more webinars today. So I'm going to say goodbye and thank you very much for joining in Instagram. And you need to get out of the way. So Slán, lads, have a good day. And Facebook, and I'm going to say Slán, and you have a good day as well. Henry, I hope Emily made it back. And I'll see you on Saturday. Lads, share it out, and let's try and get more than 60 people doing Sculpt the Skull, and I will be sending out an email with all the details in it. So I'll see you on Saturday. So on, lads. And YouTube, Slán. Right. There we go. And